Okay, I'm back. What did I miss?
So I commented and was one of the first people to comment. Here's what I said. Are you going to Antarctica with us? Someone has asked. That of course was Mark Harmon. And Flerf responded to him. He said, I already know the Earth is flat, so is you. Wow, this guy apparently looks like a blow up myself. We never met, so that's a bit...
Oh, well, it seems I have my work cut out for me. Flat earthers have to keep pumping out the quote-unquote content lest they stop to think about what they're actually saying. Like hamsters trapped in a ball of delusion, these folks wander from topic to topic aimlessly, crashing into facts that contradict them along the way. Seeing as I've missed so much, I thought I should cover the more common flat earth arguments in a tier list. A YouTube staple at this point, the tier list format will generously grade these flat earth arguments from most worst to least worst. Of course, this is because there are no good flat earth arguments, just 50 shades of shit. These tiers correspond to the level of delusion required for belief. At the top we have shitty science. These are misguided experiments aimed at proving the flatness of the Earth. Of course, flat earthers are ignorant to the scientific method, and so these experiments are flawed in nature. Below that we have general misunderstandings of particular phenomenon or technology, and below that is where you enter the shadow realm, a dark, unintelligent pit of willful ignorance to the most basic of concepts. I hope that by this journey's end you'll find yourself more equipped to deal with the general janitor work that is debunking flat earthers on Twit-Faceagram. Let's have a look at these fallacies, shall we?
Liftoff of Spaceship Atlantis. Final visit to enhance the vision of Hubble into the deepest grandeur of our universe.
Okay, Houston, the Falcon is on the plane at Hadley. Roger, Falcon.
Alright, tier 1, shitty science. Let's start from the top and work our way down. In shitty science we have two of the most common flat earth experiments. The first of these is the laser experiment. Flat earthers love lasers for some reason. They seem to have this idea that they're completely impervious to outside influence and will always project a perfectly straight, consistently thin beam of light no matter the situation. Of course, you and I know that lasers aren't these magical measuring devices and are subject to the same laws of physics as, well, everything else. Flat earthers do not account for one or more of the following in their laser experiments. Laser beam divergence over distance. A laser beam widens over distance and as such is not accurate at measuring heights over long distances. Refraction due to atmospheric or surface interference. Laser beams are just light and can be refracted as with any other light. The height of the laser above the lake at several points during travel. Flerfs never set up multiple measurement points, they only ever identify the height of the beam at the start and end of its travel. Lake size. Some flerfs will choose distances so small that the curvature of Earth is negligible. Finally, flerfs never repeat experiments. It's one and done for them. They never go back to the same place in different weather conditions or control for many variables at all for that matter. As such, their laser lunacy remains an amusing sideshow. The other experiment that's often presented by flerfs comes in the form of, duh, I can see a thing. In practice, this involves a flerf going outside, which is shocking enough, looking across a body of water, seeing something far away, and claiming they shouldn't be able to see it on a curved Earth. In this scenario, it's important to point out they didn't account for the following. Their formula of 8 inches per mile squared is just wrong. They love this incorrect formula for the curvature of the Earth because it lets them roleplay as an intelligent person. In reality, this is the formula for a parabolic curve. Oopsies. Observer height. Flerfs love to completely negate this measurement from their findings. Believe it or not, the higher up you are, the further over the curve you can see. They completely ignore this, and I can't imagine why. Finally, there's refraction, the arch nemesis of flerfs across the globe. Light from far away objects can be refracted in the atmosphere, and as such, objects are lifted up to an observer. This allows them to see things they might not be able to otherwise see. Fairly straightforward stuff, really. I always wonder, when presented with this stuff, is why they feel the need to omit such important control variables. Surely if they're so confident about being right, they should be able to run a well-designed, repeatable and independently verifiable experiment.
You serious?
Alas, they never do. Okay, up to tier 2. This is irrational incredulity. This tier covers things that may require a small amount of prerequisite knowledge in order to understand. It is for this reason that flerfs misunderstand and or lie about such things. First up, we have the fisheye lens. Flat earthers have a love-hate relationship with these. For those uninitiated, a fisheye lens is a type of ultra-wide angle lens, meaning it can capture a large field of view. These cameras are often mounted onto rocket launchers of all types because they can capture these wide shots. As I mentioned, flerfs have a love-hate relationship with them. This is because they simultaneously love to use them as flat earth proof, and then invoke the power of the fisheye when they see the earth's curvature. Screenshots like this are often circulated claiming it is photographic evidence of the flat earth, when in reality it's just a fisheye lens distorting the image. When images like this are presented, taken by cameras without fisheye lenses, flerfs suddenly remember the fisheye lenses distort things and claim the image has undergone said distortion. This is despite the fact that you can often see other objects that aren't distorted by the alleged lens. You can't have your cake and eat it too. Up next is the misunderstanding of how rockets work. Flerfs seem to have this idea that engines such as jet and rocket engines have to push off something, typically the air, in order to propel themselves. This is a fundamental misunderstanding of how physics works. Engines work using Newton's third law. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. The burning and subsequent expulsion of propellant is what causes the motion to occur, not the propellant pushing off an atmosphere. I actually covered this point in this video here, if you're interested.
Brother, what's that?
Alright, tier 3, delusional dribble. At this point in the tier list, arguments become much less complex. I realise I'm giving these clowns too much credit by implying their previous arguments were complex, but it might take a layperson a cursory amount of research to figure out how rocket engines work in a vacuum, for example. The following points are so painfully stupid that a 6-year-old could debunk them. The first of these delusions involves the rotation of the Earth. Flerfs love to throw around a figure of 1,000 miles per hour for Earth's rotation. Unfortunately, this figure has persisted as one of those pop science quote-unquote facts, despite the fact that it's a measurement of linear motion which, when referring to a spin, is basically meaningless. Angular velocity is used to measure the speed of a spinning object, and Earth's angular velocity is 7.2921159 to the power of 10 minus 5 radians a second. In layman's terms, this means that Earth spins at a speed such that a rotation is completed once every day. Funny that. Next time a flerf tells you Earth can't be spinning because everything would fly off, ask them to drive around a roundabout at a speed of once per day and ask them if they feel like they're going to fly off anywhere. Next on the list is atmosphere. This is a source of confusion for flerfs because they think when scientists talk about vacuums they're referring to their floor cleaning devices. Flat earthers have this weird insistence that vacuums suck things in like some sort of black hole. This perception has likely been influenced by those typical scenes in sci-fi movies where a small hole in a spaceship sucks everyone into space in ridiculous forces. As such, the argument goes that our heliocentric model can't work because surely the atmosphere would get sucked into space. Obviously the answer to this is gravity, and the evidence is the pressure gradient that exists as you increase in altitude. Our atmosphere does not exist next to a vacuum. This is so important, I'll say it again. Our atmosphere does not exist next to a vacuum. There is a pressure gradient. Finally on this level we have the simplistic Neanderthal-like proposition that Earth isn't round because we can't see the curve. Of course many things such as viruses, bacteria, particles, cells, DNA and transistor gates aren't visible to the naked eye either. Saying that, these are people who think one or all of these things aren't real either. Put simply, Earth is too big for us to see the curve from the surface. This is simply a case of flerfs not understanding scale.
It's the biggest piece of dog shit that I have ever heard.
Here we are, tier 4, detached from reality. Strap yourselves in, this is where we reach the event horizon. A bullshit black hole widens its maw to swallow us whole. These points are so detached from reality that even your average conspiracy theorist would look at them with scorn. Made no secret, I share no love for religion, and first on the list here is that the Bible says the earth is flat, therefore it must be. You may hear flerfs referring to passages in the Bible referring to the firmament or the four corners of the earth as evidence. Of course, the Bible has as much evidence to support its claims as the Harry Potter books have evidence to support the existence of wizards. That's none in case you didn't pick up on that, or believe in wizards, I guess. Many flerfs use the Bible as evidence of other anti-reality claims such as evolution not being real and the overall young earth creationism sort of delusion. I mean, why believe all the independently verified, repeatable evidence of scientific advancement when you can actively try to revert society back to brutal barbarism and ignorance? Religion truly has extended its vile influence over all elements of human thought throughout the ages. The next illusion on this tier list is the straight up claim that gravity doesn't exist. Yes, they actually try to argue that gravity doesn't exist. Honestly, I wish I didn't have to elaborate on this point because literal children understand the gravity of the situation. Sorry, I couldn't resist. Flerfs of course have to deny gravity because a flat earth simply isn't possible if gravity exists. A flat disk the size of Earth does not form as it would simply collapse into a sphere. So flerfs instead have to argue that something else makes objects fall. Electromagnetic forces are often cited as an alternative to gravity, despite the fact that all objects fall to Earth regardless of their charge. I guess a simple fact of opposites attract, likes repel, wasn't picked up on when they went to primary school. Genuinely shocks me that they put this forward as an argument. And finally we have the asinine conspiracies around Antarctica. It's quite relevant with the final experiment going on, which hopefully clears some of this up, but flerfs have a serious problem with this part of the world because there are numerous observations that can be made here that absolutely demolish the idea that the Earth is flat. Firstly, a 24-hour sun is observable in Antarctica, which is physically impossible on a flat Earth. Secondly, the fact that it's in our southern hemisphere provides all sorts of other problems, such as the observation that the moon is perceived as upside down, quote unquote, when compared to the northern hemisphere, or the different stars visible when compared to the northern hemisphere. Flerfs, of course, will make up more bullshit. For most of these being, you can't actually go to Antarctica because the world governments will stop you with military force. This is, of course, despite the fact that researchers go there all the time and people film there all the time, and you can book a tour there, and there's a boat race around it, the final experiment's going there. I just see it as an excuse to avoid having to actually travel to verify your claims. And just like that, we've reached the end. I hope this gives you some of the arguments necessary to disarm this shit if and when you see it. Hope to upload more frequently now I'm finished with university, and thanks to those who enjoyed my previous stuff, and hopefully this meets your expectations. Finally, I plan to branch out and cover other pseudoscience, so expect to see more of that hopefully. Bye!